Statement from Greg Gard, and then answer questions. We'll have wireless microphones on either side of the room. Just raise your hand, and we'll get it started with interim coach Greg Gard.
Thanks, Patrick. First of all, I'd like to thank everyone for coming. As you know my history, I go back all the way in the state of Wisconsin, and how important the people in the state and a lot of you people in the room that I've known over the years are to me, both standing behind cameras and not standing behind cameras. But as I told both the press gathered here last night and our team last night and earlier this afternoon, I can't be more thankful for this opportunity in terms of where people that have helped me along the way have helped position me to be in this particular position this day. And I met with our staff in various groups throughout the day, and obviously our team here a little while ago. And that was my main message, that there's no way possible I would be in this position if it's not for hundreds of people along the way. And there's no way I can mention them all. But obviously, my relationship and history with Coach Ryan, starting back 23 years ago, when he pulled me into his office as a young 22-year-old trying to figure his way through college, just cut off the baseball team, college student, trying to, what the heck am I going to do with my life, and what do I want to be when I grow up? And I had coached a few years in junior high and high school at the time at a local high school. And he said, hey, I'd like to have you join me as one of my assistants. And obviously it put me in a very precarious position, because at 22 years old, you know what the age of the players are that I'm coaching. So my roommate was one of my guys I had to coach, so I had to make sure I knew where to draw the line. And there was things I could say in practice and things I could not say in practice. So I learned at a very young age, with obviously the help of Coach Ryan, what this profession was going to be about, and with never the intention of that this day would come. You never knew what the future was going to bring. But for me to be able to take these steps throughout my career, and to be able to be surrounded by such high-quality people throughout this state, and the players that have played for us are first and foremost at all three institutions. As I mentioned with the team, that this will always be about, and always has been with me, regardless of where I coached, about the players first. And those are the heartbeat of our program. They always have been. They always will be. And then it goes from there right to the staff and the people that are gathered here today. I'm the lucky one. I'm the fortunate one that has been able to be in a position where, because you surround yourself with so many good people, good things can happen when we're all rowing in the same direction. So without giving you a continuous history of the last quarter century, feel free to open up anything for questions.
Thanks, Greg. We'll start back here with Mike.
Greg, first of all, congratulations. How emotional has this been for you since Bo made the announcement earlier this year, your father passing away, and then yesterday's announcement?
Mike, I've probably experienced every emotional quality or facet that probably exists in the human element over the last 6-7 months, for a variety of reasons, as you mentioned. But recently, obviously in the last 24 hours, it's bittersweet in some regards, because you knew this day was coming with Coach Ryan. It was a matter of when, not if. I mean, no one can coach forever, and the time and energy that it takes at this level, the commitment that is required, I knew that he had talked about it more and more and more, and it was something that was weighing on his mind, and it's a very personal decision. It's something that, unless you've walked in those shoes, you don't know exactly how to handle it. And there's 100 manuals on how to get into the profession. I haven't seen any books yet on how to get out. So, and it's so much different than a normal person or having an office job where you pack up your cubicle in a box one day and you retire and you're done. There's so many more relationships and the history involved, obviously, with what he's done, not only at the University of Wisconsin, but how he's impacted basketball in this state. I grew up in this state. I understand where it was and where it's come to at this point. I was a camper of his here when Steve Yoder was a coach here in the summer when he left to go to Platteville, 1984. So my understanding and appreciation of this state, this program, this university, and obviously Coach Ryan for what he's done, not only for me personally, but for the game and all the people that have been around him have been impacted him over the years. But at the same time, you got to continue to move on, and that's what today with the team. I'm excited. I had 1 hour of sleep last night, so I'm going on about 3 cups of coffee. But we're excited. I get more excited by the minute. I'll pay for it tonight when I try to sleep or need to sleep. But I know our players are extremely excited. Our staff, I couldn't be with a better staff with Lamont and Gary, and I made that evidently clear with them and made sure they understood how appreciative I am of their work and what they've done and how we've stood shoulder to shoulder over the years. And the same thing for our office staff, AJ, Mark, Kat, Peg, and Laura, people that have been in the background. And it's not about one person. It's the heartbeat is our team and our players. But there's so many people that have their hands in this. Eric and Henry. I can go on and on and on. I'm in a special place. Like I said before, I'm one of the lucky ones. I feel extremely fortunate to have this opportunity, and I know what this means to this state and this university, and most importantly, what it means to our players. And that's where our focus really lies, primarily right now.
In the middle.
What was the night like for you as you were soaking all of this in and then trying to prepare for today, and then leading up to that, how was the meeting with the players today?
Well, it started with obviously the meeting with the team last night, and then Patrick whisked me away to this press conference here, and then off to a TV thing, and then to a radio thing. And people had always warned me, the coaches I've come in contact over the years, talked to various head coaches, that when you slide over that 18 inches, things are going to change, and it won't be so much what is with the team, but it's all the other things that all hell may break loose. And the last 24 hours, yeah, that's exactly it's been. It's been a whirlwind. It's been an avalanche. It's been a hurricane all in one, but it's been unbelievably positive. I've enjoyed every minute of it. Like I said, I get more and more excited as the minutes go on. In the meeting with our team, I thought last night I thought that was more important. It was a time for us to be thankful and gracious and reflect back on. Some of us have had 6 months with Coach Ryan. I've been one of the luckiest one that have had 23 years of learning and working side by side. I think one of the greatest coaches that's ever coached the game. And from our seniors, Jordan, that's had 5 years, and all the way down through our freshmen that have had 6 months, just to be thankful for the opportunity that you've had to work with him and watch him. And those are things you're going to take with you for the rest of your life, regardless of what happens in your college experience. Those are things that very few people have an opportunity to experience. And then today's meeting was much more direct. It was able to be just us and our staff and the team. And laid some groundwork down on what's going to be expected and where we are. And also, they understood when they walked out that door that it's about them first and foremost. And I don't think you can get any team to go, any group of individuals to come together if they don't understand that you really care about them and are committed to them. And that's what I really learned over the last quarter century is, when you surround yourself with good people and you do things the right way and you're really committed to them and you care about them, you can accomplish some pretty special things. And that's what we're trying to take in the next step towards.
Gennaro, over here.
Hey, Greg, just to be sure, you didn't know this was coming down until after the game?
No, I talked to Brian a couple times yesterday afternoon, and I knew it was pretty. He indicated it was kind of this is what he was thinking, but he wasn't quite sure yet. He still wanted to talk more with his wife and with Kelly. And like I said before, it's a very personal decision. It's a very emotional decision, which I knew. But until it was really finally, I just waited for his direction, and I just said, hey, let me know what the plan is and what you need from me and what's going to be next. And just communication through, the administration and everybody that was involved with it. So I was just waiting for whatever the next step was going to be.
Can I ask you then, what was it like coaching through that game last night, knowing that it would be a possibility?
Really no different than normal. I think once you get locked in, if you've known me for very long, you know that my boat doesn't get rocked too much one way or the other. I try to play and be pretty even-keeled. The players sometimes behind closed doors see a different side of me once in a while, but for the most part, I think you really have to be able to take everything in and balance it out And I've been very fortunate that that's a personality trait that I've been blessed with over the course of time from my parents, that nothing too much has been able to tip me upside down. So from that standpoint, it was just about winning the game, and trying to play well against it. When you get to a finals point like we are starting tomorrow, you can tell that a lot of things are on these guys' plates and on their minds. And you could tell the look in their eyes. We were a little zombie-ish last night, and very typical for this time of year, coming in and going out of finals. So you try to work your way through it, and sometimes things don't turn out as well as you like them to. But I thought for the most part our guys, even though it was ugly at times last night with things that we need to get better at and will get better at, to be able to come out on top, especially in Coach Ryan's last game, would end up being his last game here, and against a team in Corpus Christi that has made some noise already, and I think will continue once they get in their league play. I think it's not the last you'll probably hear from them. Anytime you see a senior-dominated team like that, I knew when I looked at the roster when Coach Paris had the scouting report and he read off senior, 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 senior. I said, we're going to have our hands full. Having been on the other side of it, I know what experience can lead to.
Lance?
Greg, a lot of us in this room obviously know you and know your Wisconsin roots, but if someone came up to you and said, who is Greg Gard and what does he stand for, how do you answer that?
Well, I think what you see is what you get. I've always tried to pride myself on very simple principles of working hard, trying to treat those around you exceptionally well. I look with our players especially, I've got kids that are getting close to the same age. And how would you want your players treated, or how would you want your kids treated if they were in those same shoes? So I've been fortunate. I had two great parents that set me off on the right foot from the very beginning. And obviously I get a little emotional with my dad's story, but I'm one of the lucky ones, as I mentioned before. I got a head start that I think maybe a lot of people didn't have in terms of what they exposed me to early in my childhood with work ethic, doing what was right, treating people the right way, and that's at the core of who I am. It's what you see is what you get. I'm very honest. I'm very direct. I like to have I'm humorous with the guys. And there's a time when I joke with them, and there's a time not to joke with them, and joke with them, and they know the difference. And but then, like I said, I just try to do what's right for the people that I'm working with, and hopefully treat people the right way. But like I said, it's I've been fortunate that I got a head start from a very early age, and then all the other mentors that I'd leave somebody out if I started naming coaches that I've had and mentors along the way. But it started back with mom and dad.
Tom Oates?
Greg, what the timing of this, what effect do you think it'll have on maybe your ability to get this job on a permanent basis?
Well, I've never worried about that standpoint from what the end result will be. I've always tried to focus in my career and in each team I've dealt with, and maybe it's helped me. I think it's helped me way more than it's ever been a detriment to me, is I try to focus on the here and now and today. And by that I mean I focus more on the process than what the actual outcome is going to be. So for us, our main focus is, like I said, how can we continue to move this team forward and improve? How can we get some of these younger guys to play a little older? How can we have our older guys be better leaders and be more consistent? So from that standpoint, our ability to move forward, our players are really excited to get going, and their next opponent, the finals, obviously, as we talked about. But for me, it's been more about what's the most important thing for our players, and whatever that leads to down the road, that will happen. But if I start focusing on what's 2-3 months down the road, or what any decision is made down the road, I'm doing our players a disservice, in this program a disservice. My main responsibility and focus right now is to help navigate and help lead all the people involved with this in the right direction, and have the best experience possible. And we've got our hands full. There's no doubt. We got a young team that's had some ups and downs, and one more non-conference game, and then into the Big Ten slate, which, as you look at the teams in the league, every night's going to be a battle. It's just been just like every other 14 years, extremely competitive. But we need to focus on ourselves and how we can continue to take steps up the ladder.
One more time?
Yeah, Greg, I know you viewed it from afar, if Milwaukee can be called from afar, but when Brad Soderberg replaced Dick, every game kind of turned into is he keeping the job? Or if he wins, he's keeping the job. If he loses, he's not. How do you insulate the program, yourself, the team from that kind of attitude that surrounds this thing sometimes?
Right. Just focus on what's important. And I think you simplify things. You make sure your process every day is about getting better. You focus on the next opponent. It'll be no different than how it has been any of other portion or point of my career in terms of how it's always on to next. And you can't get caught up into whether it's that situation or if you win, you're going to be this seed in the NCAA tournament. If you lose, you might not get in, or you got to stay in the conference race. To try to get consumed by all the what ifs, I think just takes away from what you can really accomplish and where the focus should be and how we can collectively work together to continue to move forward. So my main focus will be, like I said, it has been, I'm not going to consume myself with what the what ifs are. Just how can we help this group continue to get better and take it step by step, one day at a time.
Zach?
Greg, what's at the top of your to-do list right now, and what are the biggest challenges that you're facing at this moment?
Well, my phone is at about 350 text messages, 500 emails, about 10 voicemails. Some people aren't even leaving messages. That would be to get back to that at some point in time. I've had a chance today to meet with our office staff, our coaching staff, our strength and conditioning staff, health services, on down the line, the team, obviously, and we'll jump back into some conditioning things and some shootings and some stuff tomorrow that'll be non-contact for a very short period of time. And again, the main focus with the team has been, here's where we are, here's where we need to be, and here's where we're going, and we're all here for you. We're in this together, and everybody get both feet in the boat, grab onto an oar, and start rowing in the same direction. And their first thing is, their world's been turned upside down here in the last 24 hours, so we need to make sure that they understand that we're here to help, and we're here to help facilitate them through this and help them through this. I told them my door is always open unless I'm in an emergency meeting. Walk in anytime. They have my phone number. They can call, text anytime they want. So they need to have an understanding that we're here for them first and foremost. And the first challenge is, like I said, you can tell who's prepping for finals, and it won't be anything, we won't ask them to do anything superhuman. It'll be about how we can improve each day, and that'll be the task at hand. We'll look long-term vision in terms of recruiting and how we're going to attack all this with our staff, and we will recruit aggressively. That will not change in terms of the mindset, and I need to do the best job for the UC University and this athletic department and this men's basketball program to continue to put it in position to continue to have success down the road. And we've got a great thing going here. We've got an unbelievable place, great people, as I mentioned last night, and we have a culture established, a formula and a foundation in place, and it's our responsibility to keep pushing that forward. And we understand what makes this place tick, both in athletics and academics, and what is important here socially, the fiber of the people of Wisconsin, of what they expect and what they appreciate, and that will be the focus going forward long term in anything that deals with recruiting. And I've already had several reach out to me, and we'll be getting back to people in the next day or so.
In the back.
Greg, I know you said you're focused on the here and now, but have you given yourself any time to think about what it's going to be like next Wednesday against UWGB as you step out on that court for the first time as a head coach?
Well, I got a text from Green Bay's AD, Marianne Gillespie, saying congrats, and good luck, except for next Wednesday. She put that in parentheses. So, no, we'll prepare for Green Bay just like we do any other opponent. I think the biggest thing is for me not to treat it any differently. If I start treating it differently and acting differently and weird and all that type of stuff, what message does that send to the team? I told the team, I don't change as a person. My role will change. My responsibility level will change. I understand decisions end with me. I have to make the final call with that, and I'm very comfortable with that. But I'm surrounded by terrific people that have experience, and I will lean on people, and I have already. And for me to all of a sudden morph into something that I'm not, the biggest mistake I can make is not be myself. And that's what I intend to be, is stays true to who I am. What's been solid for me all these years, for me to try to deviate from that would be, catastrophic.
Jeff. Greg, you mentioned the change, what happens moving 18 inches to the left a little bit. You obviously had to deal with a kid at Platteville who was your roommate and you were coaching him then. Are you prepared to make that jump that all assistants have to when they make that transition from assistant to head coach? And what do you think the obstacles will be?
Well, the main thing is that you are the final decision maker, and the game doesn't change in terms of we're still going to try to play, the best way possible, share the basketball, take care of the basketball, get high percentage shots, transition both ways efficiently and effectively, be effective on the glass. The foundations and the principles of the game don't change. My decisions within the game, obviously I step up the ladder in terms of responsibility, and so I understand that. But also you understand that it's a game, and it's about the players, and they need to play. I'm not going to micromanage them, and they're not going to be puppets. They're going to have a chance to play, and within the structure of what we want, they understand the principles. They understand what's made us successful, and we'll continue to stay true to those identities. And if we deviate a little bit, it's our job as a staff to get us back on the right track. And I think as you move on in this, it's very important. Your principles, you have to maintain a firmness in them, in terms of what you expect. And you have to make sure people are in the right line in terms of what your principles are. Your approach needs to be flexible, because every player is different. Every person, each of my 3 kids are different in terms of how they respond. And the same thing with the players. You got to know exactly what their hot buttons are, which kid you need to put your arm around, which kid you need to get a little more vocal with, how they respond, and that's all part of coaching and leading and understanding the human dynamic of it. And that's an important piece as well. I had a pretty good idea of how each kid, what drives each kid, and what motivates each kid. And like I said, this group is. I saw some looks in the locker room last night and today, and just the looks in their eyes that they're excited about what's coming here and what their opportunities are. And I said, this is your team. This is your program. We're here to help navigate, help steer you in the right direction, and offer advice. And but it's still about them, and we'll continue to move forward and help them, try to be as good as possible.
JP, in the back.
Coach, judging by their attendance today, it's safe to say your fellow coaches are behind you. What does that mean to have their support?
Well, I wouldn't be, as I said from the beginning, I wouldn't be in this position and have this opportunity if it wasn't for them, and also several, I would say hundreds, dozens of people in the past too that have helped put me in this position to help put our programs, and I say programs plural, in a position to have success, because there's been a long lineage of people that have helped facilitate, navigate a program, whether it's been a Platteville where we're at a championship level, Milwaukee in a rebuilding mode, or here where it's been a continuous upward climb. And there's been so many people involved with that. And I don't lose sight of it. It goes well beyond the people in this room and former players that have reached out to me. Sam Decker sent me a text. All he says, "How you doing?" with a little smiley face. So he knows. But other ones that have reached out that I've got to get back to everybody at some point in time here. But that's those people that I've surrounded myself with and been surrounded by are extremely important to me, because, like I said, the people, as I've looked from afar and also here up close the last 15 years, what make this place special. The bricks and mortar are phenomenal. The institution as a whole, academically, world class. But when you boil it all down, the people are what is the difference maker, and that's those people, and that is a very important piece of who I am.
Jim?
Greg, I would imagine it'd be very hard to, or challenging at least, to add a staff member at this point of the season. How quickly do you think you'll move on that, and have you already started that process?
It's been contemplated and discussed. I'll have more meetings yet this afternoon where that'll have further discussion, and then it has to be the right fit if I do decide to do it. I think at this point in time of the year, obviously a lot of coaches are employed, and to be able to find somebody that can we don't have time to train somebody from ground zero. We have to hit the ground running, and we're prepared to move in either direction, whatever that final decision is that I make, and the opportunities or options that I have. But I'm still in the process of meeting with administration on options and procedures and all the things that will have to be checked off along the way as we go through that process.
Follow up, Jim.
Does that mean you could go one person short if it comes to
I
that?
could, yep. If need be, we're prepared to deal with either situation.
Eric, back here.
Hey, Greg, just wondering about with Bo potentially being involved in some form as you move forward, do you kind of have a feel for what he might do and if you'd want that?
I will always welcome his advice. That's never in question. I joked last night that I still got his phone number. So Coach will handle this the right way in terms of if I need something, he's always said I'm a phone call away. He said that years ago as, various opportunities presented themselves for me. I don't have to worry about where he is in terms of his support, and obviously it'd be foolish on my part not to lean on him and not to bounce things by him, and I will bounce things by other coaches too that have been successful. I'm leaning on my staff already. Success in athletics is not sport specific, and I may lean on Coach Christ. He sent me a text about that long earlier today. I'll lean on Coach Alvarez. I'm not in a position where I think I have all the answers, and if I can offer advice or get advice or say, hey, here's the situation, what have you done, what's your experience with this, I will, but at the end of the day, it's also my decision. I understand that I can't take 50 people's advice and be more clouded and confused, but there will be times when I'll lean on Coach Ryan as well as other people.
Brandon, down here, Brandon. General, go ahead. We'll take a couple more.
Hey, Greg, what are some of the changes or areas of change you might be considering, either philosophically, on court, off court? Have you gotten into that yet or thought about that yet?
Yeah, obviously, our brand of basketball and our pillars of success are pretty well cemented and time tested. So for me to make wholesale changes, that's not who I am, because that's not my philosophy and not what makes up what I feel is important. So they are not going to be changes per se. Will there be additions? Will there be things that we need to get better at? We need to fine tune. We need to spit shine a little bit and improve upon. And some of that's with experience. We need to continue to grow and take steps forward. But for me to make wholesale changes and say we're going to completely do a 180 from what has been that's the core of my belief in terms of how my philosophies have been well ingrained and well centered around and again, like I said before, for me to try to emulate Coach Ryan is not what I intend to do and won't be doing. I have to be me and stick true to who I am and what's helped me get to this point. But at the same time, the philosophies and the soundness behind all the principles, good basketball, doesn't have a whole lot of boundaries in terms of you can basically name on one hand what makes up solid, consistent teams and programs. And if you're true to those principles and stick with those and not waver and not flinch, and I think that's the thing that I've learned from Bo too over the years, is that in times when the boat's been the rockiest in terms of losing streaks or things aren't going well, that he doesn't deviate. We just try to get better at what we're trying to accomplish, and instead of trying to do a 180 and you have everybody confused. And let's stick true to who we are and what makes us successful and improve upon that.
Any other questions for Coach Gard? There are no more. Thank you, Coach.